Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for F1 Chit Chat. That was very professional. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk Motorsport, powered by SLIPSTREAM Motorsports. My name is Daniel, and today we'll be reviewing all the action from the Canadian Grand Prix. And what a epic race it was, especially in comparison to the Monaco Grand Prix, which we didn't really see any racing whatsoever. But it was a bit of a wet race this time around, which of course can create action. And we did see some plenty of. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Face is frozen. Fantastic. You love to see it. Is it frozen? This is very professional. If you guys are listening, by the way, on what do you call it, on live stream, or sorry, if you're listening on Spotify or watching a replay of my YouTube, this of course is originally a live stream podcast where you can ask questions and be featured in the pod. So be sure to check out our socials to do so. Now, unfortunately, Alex isn't here with me today, so it is just me, but I've got all my lovely people here over on TikTok and YouTube. So feel free to ask a question if you wish. And apparently my camera is playing up, so that's fantastic. But hopefully my audio stays the same. As you can see, I'm just as reliable as a HP Scuderia Ferrari. Now, let's not make any memes about my frozen face. We'll make it work. All right, so overall, yeah, a decent Grand Prix weekend. Quite enjoyed it. There was an epic battle between Verstappen, Norris, and Russell. Of course, Russell actually got pole position. And the funny thing about that is Max Verstappen set the exact same lap time as George Russell as well in qualifying, which we have not seen the likes of since 1997 at Jerez. That famous qualifying session where Jacques Villeneuve, Heinz Frentzen, and Michael Schumacher got the exact same lap time. It was crazy. And it was nuts. So it's really cool to see that. Verstappen, actually Red Bull have struggled struggled the first half of the weekend. Unfortunately, in practice, they suffered a ERS issue, I believe, or some electrical issue. But obviously, it didn't stop them because Max Verstappen actually ultimately won the race. And got to say, it's been a while since we've seen a Max Verstappen victory. Of course, we saw in Miami, we saw Lando win. We saw in Monaco that Charles won. So it's been quite nice. So I don't mind that Max won this time around, but it was a really cool battle. And in my opinion, I reckon Lando Norris could have probably won it this weekend. Now, of course, because it was a wet weather race, you know, it started off fairly well. Haas, everyone was on intermediates except for the two Haas's, and they were literally bullets off the line. Like, Kevin Magnussen went from 14th to 4th position within 3 laps, but it literally ended after that because the track started to dry up ever so slightly, and intermediates were obviously the right choice, so Haas began to fall back, and also in consequence as well, they actually had a bad pit stop as well, so that works nicely. Just having a look at some questions here on TikTok. If you, by the way, welcome and thanks to everyone who has joined. Bryce, Danny Rick really put Villeneuve in his place. Yes, he did indeed, and we will get into that. That was... okay, I'm a Danny Rick fan, and I was so pissed off with Jacques Villeneuve. It really fired me up, and it obviously fired Daniel Ricciardo up because he got P5 in qualifying. And he had a decent race, considering, because he actually got a penalty, a 5-second penalty for a false start, which I haven't seen too many replays, but from the replays, it was very hard to tell that he did. But it is what it is. FIA have, you know, their technology and whatnot to be able to notice that. So, unfortunately, he had 5-second penalty. But he still recovered to an 8th place finish, which is fantastic. And still, he was actually ahead of Yuki Tsunoda all weekend. And that is crucial. This is a nice segment. Daniel, how you going, mate? Nice name. Yeah, that was not, I don't believe so either, Bryce. That was not a false start in my eyes. It looked perfectly fine. But anyway, this ties into my a perfect segment. Moments before the Canadian Grand Prix weekend began, it was announced that Sergio Perez has extended his contract with Red Bull Racing till the end of 2026. Now, if you have watched our podcasts in the past, you would know my opinions on Sergio Perez and that Red Bull seat. And in my opinion, he does not deserve it. Someone else should be in that seat. And for him to get not 1 year, but 2-year extension is very concerning, especially like the first year into the new regulations. Obviously, Red Bull wants some consistency heading into that, I suppose. Take it easy, Jake. Yes, Sergio had a great weekend. Yeah, we will get into that too. It's very disappointing to see because we've got the likes of Yuki Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, waiting in line for a Red Bull seat. And now the fact that there's a 2-year wait essentially now for it, pretty much destroys the hopes and dreams for them. Like Yuki Tsunoda, who also, by the way, has extended his contract with Visa Cash App Racing Bulls for another year till the end of 2025. Now that was surprising. Or maybe he's staying around for a potential seat next year elsewhere, because there was links with maybe Aston or Haas for Yuki Tsunoda. Because I doubt he'll ever be in a Red Bull. Liam Lawson, it also depends. Actually, I know I'm going on a rant here, but the interesting thing about VCARB this weekend is that they announced only Yuki Tsunoda. So that's why I reckon this whole weekend for Daniel Ricciardo was extremely important to guarantee him a seat for next year. Now, in my opinion, I'm a Danny fan, so I'll love to see him in F1 no matter what. However, being a podcaster and an F1 or motorsport podcaster, Liam Lawson deserves that seat and deserves a seat in Formula One before it's too late. Because, He should either do that or just go to IndyCar, because that seems to be the place where everyone goes lately. It's a lot more action. Much better action. If you didn't watch the Indy 500 this year, you missed out. But yeah, and it's really unfortunate because the Red Bull Academy really is hindered on the fact that they've got a driver who can't even make it into qualifying two times in a row. Like, Sergio started 16th, qualified 16th, but actually got a 3-place grid penalty. Oh, sorry, no, he didn't. He actually got a 3-place grid penalty after Canada because he crashed the car, right? He spun the car, whacked the rear wing was sideways, and he still tried to drive the car back. And in consequence, left a whole heap of debris on the circuit. And he actually got a 3-place grid penalty for Barcelona because of that. So that just shows what a fantastic driver he is. Yeah, I do reckon it's going to, it's going to be interesting because Red Bull isn't really good at giving young blokes a go. So I hope to see Lawson in the car. He has to be in the car. He has to be in a car next year for sure. Daniel Ricciardo, like I said, I love him, but I reckon Lawson needs a seat. So if that means Daniel has to go, then so be it. It is what it is. But speaking of that, as contract as well, more contract talks. Haas, of course, we know that Hülkenberg announced his departure ages ago. He's going to stake F1 next year, and Audi. But there's a highly suspected rumor that Ollie Behrman will take his place there next year, which I'll be very happy to see. Hopefully that Haas is a competitive seat because we saw what a talent that Ollie was when he subbed in for Carlos Sainz at Jeddah and got the 7th place on debut. Now, yeah, it was a Ferrari, but the fact that it was his first F1 Grand Prix race at a street circuit nonetheless, he did well to bring it home in 7th. It's a fantastic talent coming our way, and I hope to see him do well. Jacob Behrman is overrated. Fair enough. Yep, that's your opinion. I haven't seen too much of him, so I'm still excited to see how he goes next year. Nonetheless, Alpine, in terms of contracts, Ocon, after the abysmal Monaco Grand Prix he had with that awful driving, and by the way, I don't know how they got double points this weekend, is probably the fact that Ferrari got 2 DNFs, I reckon. But, Ocon's leaving the team at the end of the year, which hopefully, fingers crossed, puts Jack Doohan in that seat next year. Now, nothing's confirmed. He did have a FP1 session this weekend, although not much running happened because of wet weather and hail. But I hope to see him in a seat next year. He's also another driver that deserves a seat. Mercedes and Williams, of course. Oh, Williams. Sorry, just made the camera go crazy. Albon obviously is locked in at Williams for a couple of years, I believe. Logan Sargent, I reckon, will be out at the end of the year in favour for someone else. Now, I've actually had a chat with... Oh, my God. Fantastic. For the guys watching on Spotify, I dropped my camera. It's all good. It's all happening here. All good. Yeah, so... What was I saying? Williams. So, Logan Sargent, he had an abysmal weekend. He actually crashed. He actually spun out and brought out the first of many safety cars this weekend. He's not going to race in Formula 1. In my opinion, might sound a bit harsh, but I don't think he deserved a seat. And I hate to say it, the only reason he's in that F1 seat is because he's America. He's America? He's the whole country. Cool, no problem. He is American, and of course, F1 has gone full American with their Drive to Survive and the fact that they've got 3 Grand Prix there. And yeah, Logan's been out-qualified. Oh my God, what? Has he qualified? Sorry, Bryce made a good point here. Logan has out-qualified Sergio 6 times, apparently. Wow, Logan Sargent to Red Bull confirmed. Yep, hands down. Jeez, but apparently he actually has been out-qualified by Albon 30 times, 30-0. That is bonkers. And he doesn't deserve an F1 seat. He didn't win an F2 race. He wasn't ready, in my opinion. They put him in too early. They actually had to get permission for him to race in F1. And unfortunately, I reckon it's his time. And I had a good chat with someone. I can't remember who it was. I'm not sure if it was you, Jordan. It's been a long week. Should Williams hire Carlos Sainz at Williams for experience? Because the last thing they need, because their financial issues, probably the last thing they need is a rookie. I know we saw George Russell start off with Williams. He did really well. And there has been chit-chat about Kimi Antonelli maybe going there as well. But as much as I would love to see Carlos Sainz in a competitive car, for example, Mercedes, I reckon Williams might be a good choice for him, or might be a good choice for the team themselves to get that experience. Because obviously Carlos is a race winner. He's in his prime at the moment. It'll be fantastic for Williams. Maybe we might see a good result from them. And for example, Alex Albon, I just want to give a massive shout out to him because the overtake he did at the final chicane in the Grand Prix was insane. It was crazy. It was traffic, changing lane stuff. Zach, who will get the Mercedes seat? It's either going to be Kimi Antonelli or Carlos Sainz, in my opinion. Bryce says his prediction about Danny Rick to Aston could happen for real. That'll be interesting. Cam Waters 6, how you going, mate? How are you, buddy? Yeah, that could be interesting. Because obviously Fernando's locked in till, I think, 2026. But I don't know about Lance Stroll. Now, of course, his dad runs the team, so he might be guaranteed a seat for life. But if Lawrence can finally get rid of his son in F1, I didn't want to make that sound weird, then yeah, by all means, I would love to see another driver there, especially Daniel Ricciardo. That'll be a good team for him. I reckon he can do a lot. He will do a lot better than he is now in V-Carb, I reckon. Who knows? Do I reckon McLaren were robbed? It's a tough one. It was unlucky. If you're referring to the safety car, if you're referring to that, then it was unfortunate because, of course, in Miami, Lando pitted at the most perfect time when the safety car came out, and unfortunately, Lando was leading at the time this first safety car came out for Canada. But unfortunately, he was down main straight or like pit straight already when the safety car came out. Yeah, the track to town for supercars, that'll be exciting. I'll talk about that in the V8 pod coming up later tonight. Yeah, for those, by the way, guys, if you're watching live on YouTube and TikTok, stick around for after this podcast for the V8 portion of things, for our Darwin preview. And if you're watching on YouTube or as a playback or listening on Spotify, it will be live as you hear it now. So you can easily check it out after this podcast. So back to McLaren. So, yeah. Unfortunately, lost the lead in the safety car, dropped back to third, just ahead of Piastri. And then there was a cool battle between the top three, or race actually. And then I think when the next safety car came, when the last pit stop happened, Lando drag raced Max Verstappen heading into turn one. He actually was ahead of Max at the exit of turn one, but unfortunately lost the rears. Because, of course, wet track, cold tyres, it's bound to happen. And unfortunately, he lost the lead there. And then he struggled a little bit there with Russell. Actually, him and Russell both struggled with the wet this weekend. So they were quite even. There was a cool battle, though, between the two. And there was even a cool battle between the two Mercedes as well, for good measure, to the point where Russell actually got told off or gently reminded that they're teammates, so don't crash into each other. Really? Xavier says here, interesting. I read a thing today, say Red Bull admitted to telling Perez to drive to the pits so a safety car didn't happen. Jeez, that's suspicious, isn't it? I won't be surprised if that's true. Reminds me of DJR's scandal with Bathurst 2019. Alex remembers it very well. He doesn't like talking about it. McLaren weren't robbed. That was just racing. Yeah, exactly. Bryce, it was just bad luck. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Like I said, with Miami, he won very well. With Canada, he got unlucky. But he did have a chance to win this weekend, but unfortunately just didn't have the grip. Yeah, he also got a 3-place grid penalty as well for Barcelona, I believe. The bus. Yeah, Bryce, you remember. But yeah, overall, I actually quite enjoyed the racing. It was really cool to see. I'm glad that it wasn't a ball fest like it normally can be. I actually quite enjoyed it. Let's run through the results, I suppose. So let's dive straight into that. So have a look here at the results once I can get up. So Max Verstappen wins the Canadian Grand Prix, as we mentioned before. And then in second place, we've got Lando Norris, ultimately getting ahead of George Russell there. And then Lewis Hamilton finished behind George. Now, Lewis, he was not happy this weekend. You could tell, in my opinion, he's just keen. He's just waiting for the end of the season to get to that Ferrari. But he still did well to get 4th place, considering he's not happy. So shout out to him. Oscar Piastri in 5th with Fernando and Lance in 6th and 7th for Aston. Daniel Ricciardo, like I said, finishes 8th position. Juicy 4 points ahead of Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon, who actually, in saying that, Ocon was pissed off during the race because there was team orders to let Pierre go past him in attempt to overtake Daniel Ricciardo. I believe it was Daniel Ricciardo. And then Ocon asked for the position back and didn't get it. And obviously he was pissed off. And, you know, that's what happens if you crash into your teammate. It's karma, in my opinion. So basically, get over it, Esteban. That was a bit harsh, but yeah. Yeah, it was the right amount of rain in Canada, Bryce. I completely agree. Xavier, probably not this chat. Oh, actually, I still reckon Max Verstappen can win the championship this year, but definitely don't discount Lando for a couple more wins this year, maybe. Who knows? He's been very strong this year so far. I just think it's going to be tricky to beat Red Bull at the championship at least. Hopefully the second half of the season, you know, they start dominating McLaren, that is. Because obviously second half of last year they had a fantastic car. So who knows? But never say never. Anything can happen. We're only round 9 out of 23. So we've still got plenty of action to go. Yeah, Bryce, those team radios had some spice with Ocon, indeed. They were very juicy indeed. Let's move on here to the non-point finishes. We've got Nico Hülkenberg in 11th, with Kevin behind in 12th. 13th was Valtteri Bottas. I swear that's probably his highest result all year. I could be wrong, but I'm not used to seeing him so high up. And then we got Yuki Tsunoda in 14th. Now, unfortunately, he actually had a very near miss with the wall. At the back chicane, he actually spun, or aquaplaned, you might as well say, and was millimetres away from whacking his front wing into that wall there. But he managed to bring it home in 14th. He had a bit of an average weekend overall regarding pace. Zhou Guanyu finished 15th, and that was it for the finishers. In terms of the retirees, we got Carlos Sainz who unfortunately had a spin like moments after Sergio Perez did as well. And unfortunately for Alex Albon, who also didn't finish, got whacked by a rear Ferrari, or a rear of a Ferrari. And unfortunately, Carlos knocked out both of them. Sergio Perez also retired as well with his damaged car, despite hopes of continuing. Said no one ever except for Sergio. Charles unfortunately retired due to I think an engine problem or a technical problem, unfortunately. Unfortunately, just Ferrari just did not have their game on this weekend. And Charles was obviously upset about that, especially in qualifying. He was actually quite honest. He just said they're slow. And then Logan Sargent is the last of the non-finishers. Let's have a quick look at the championship after Canada. So, Max Verstappen still leads the way for Red Bull with 194 points. Then Charles Leclerc with 138 is ahead of Lando, who's only 7 points behind Charles. Carlos is in fourth with Sergio in fifth, and he's slowly dropping. Now he's actually 1 point behind Carlos. Then we've got Oscar Piastri in sixth with George and Lewis. Then we've got Fernando and Yuki rounds up the 10. And then we've got Lance Stroll and Daniel Ricciardo. They're still together. Probably about 12 points gap between them. Ollie Behrman is now in 13th place instead of 12th after that 8th place finish for Danny Rick. Then we've got Nico Hulkenberg, Pierre Gasly, Alex Albon, Ocon, Magnussen, Zhou Guanyu, and Valtteri Bottas. That's your 20. And then in 21st position with 0 points is Logan Sargent. Let's have a quick look at the teams standing. So Red Bull lead the way still with 301 points. All Max Verstappen's points, pretty much. And then we've got Ferrari in second. Then we've got McLaren sitting comfortably in third ahead of Mercedes, their engine supplier, in fourth. And then we've got Aston Martin in fifth with RB in sixth. Haas, Alpine, Williams, and Stake F1, or Kick Sauber, whatever you want to call it, is in 10th position. That was nice. So yeah, that is pretty much it. There's not a lot more to talk about this F1 podcast. Of course, the next one is Barcelona, and I think that's in 2 or 3 weeks' time. I could be wrong. So thanks everyone who has tuned in. Oh, sorry, my driver of the day has to be Logan Sutton. No, I'm kidding. I can't do that. I can't do that. It's got to be Lando Norris, I reckon. He definitely took it up to the front today, this weekend. He like I said, I hope he wins the championship. That'd be cool. Banana Bob, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Sorry, I missed that before. Oh, nice. Cam Waters is racing, or Cam Waters 6 is racing F1 Canada on the race sim. Nice, man. You got F1 24? I heard it's pretty interesting. Xavier, hey, how you going? I've not. Good job for jumping over from TikTok to YouTube. Yeah, Mando, I will get into that in the V8 portion of this podcast, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, so guys, this is driver of the day, Lando Norris, and hopefully, to be honest, Barcelona, I reckon Max Verstappen will win again. Maybe we'll see a dominance, but I'm reckoning top 3 will be Max Verstappen, and then Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris. That's my 3. Locking it in. Daniel Ricciardo will probably, I reckon we might see an announcement in regarding contracts for VCarb at least before then. Hopefully, or hope anyway. Yeah, that we'll talk about that when we as it happens. But by the way, guys, news, F1 news and stuff to keep up to date with all your motorsport action. Especially V8s and F1 and MotoGP. Do check out our TikTok. And Instagram. We're extremely active on there. We do keep our news up to date. We do keep up with the news there. I'm lost for words. So feel free to check that out. All the links you need is in the description or show notes. So feel free to check that out. Thanks everyone who's joined tonight. Of course, if you're watching live on TikTok now, I'm not ending the stream. I'm only ending the YouTube side of things. And for those watching on YouTube as well, be sure to stick around my page because the V8 portion of the podcast will go live very, very, very soon. Yeah, thanks everyone who's tuned in. Like I said, guys, if you are watching an old playback version on YouTube and Spotify, do check out the lives when I do go live, that is. We do post it on socials. Sometimes I screw up Bryce, as he mentioned here with I did the Victorian times instead of Adelaide times. I do try to keep people up to date with that, so people can join in. And then if you want to be part of the podcast, feel free to join and ask questions, and I'll read them. Like I have today with Bryce and Xavier and Cam Water 6 and Jordan and Jake and Luke and a bunch of legends. So thanks everyone who's tuned in. I hope you all have a great rest of your evening or day or wherever you're watching or listening from. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.